Oh, yes.
Live streaming is
on. Okay, here's a great announcement. Token Engineering Academy, Ecosystem Value Flows. We'll be here again in October.
Yes.
Starting October 12th. Yeah, with a 3 weeks part-time program. And 20 slots applications are open until September 17th.
Okay. Well, that's great news. And is it the same course, like an intro course, or is it really more of a continuation, or is it kind of a separate?
This time we will do ecosystem value flows again, which is a very early stage of the token engineering process, with, let's say, additional, or let's say, refinements in how we design the course, what canvases we use, and so on. And we are in parallel working on the second course dedicated to economic and dynamic models and typical token patterns.
Okay, nice.
I was curious to know what was the level of experience people had before joining the course.
It's a bit hard to understand. The sound is somehow broken. Can you repeat, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
What was the level of experience people had before joining the course?
So I'd say level of experience in crypto was pretty high. Level of experience in token engineering, though, was not that high. Let's say people are aware of certain mechanism design, super interesting projects of, let's say, common stack, but not of this core engineering process, how to design an ecosystem. So, and this course was actually meant to be a program for beginners in this area. So we, at this point, we started really with explaining the basic concepts, defining an ecosystem purpose, digging into stakeholders, motivation, how to, and incentive design, and finally come up with stock and flows and this as mental model, as mentioned, that is then the fundament for continue the work on your system and building a digital twin, running simulations.
Okay, so we should pause.
Yeah.
Although
yeah.
I'm really excited about the Academy, and it's worth, of course, making sure anyone who would ever come back and watch this video hears about how awesome the Academy is. But I put notes for the Token Engineering Commons call in the messages. So there's a link to the agenda that we're going to go through. And to start the call off, actually, we want to discuss, because today we're going to talk about roles and a few things in that, like how do we organize ourselves. And the intro question, just to get everyone talking, is, does hierarchy have a place in the context of Token Engineering Commons? And because hierarchy is always a very contentious issue, especially in decentralized communities. So we just want to give a quick round, and since there's only 4 of us, we can go a little bit over 60 seconds, but we should still try to keep it short. So I'll pass it to Livia to start.
Yeah, it's an interesting question for me. Also, I think I tend to not agree so much with hierarchy, but more with incentivizing leadership within every person. So some people have the leadership initiative and they end up being in the forefront, but I think it shouldn't be an exclusive place. It should be everyone that feel the drive to the leadership should have an open path to do it. And I'll pass to Angela.
Yeah, I feel the word hierarchy is not really appealing. However, we will have kind of a certain differentiation between token holders, for example, and the the impact and decision-making power they might have. What I would love to see is, on one hand, encouraging leadership and taking the lead, because we all see that this is so much needed to get things going. And on the other hand, incentivize contribution. And particularly since our space is so early and so much research is required, this is not only about leadership, right? This is also about doing and building relevant stuff. And how to marry those two is the challenge I think we face. Our next one.
Yeah, I'll go next if you like.
Mhm.
Yep. I think you'll naturally have like a hierarchy develop in any ecosystem where there are contributors who make valuable contributions over time, and you won't have it's pretty sort of inescapable to not recognize that. But the sheer like breadth of token engineering and the range of environments and ecosystems that tokenization can reach into will mean that all that people will come from all backgrounds, right? You're going to attract a very, very wide range of actors and agents in this space. I think that's pretty much my 60 seconds, but yeah, I think you'll have this hierarchy, but there'll be like a very cross-domain sharing of information that will sort of in some way mitigate the impact of that sort of hierarchy contribution. Just grow together. I think that's sort of my 2 cents. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, and just throw my 2 cents in there. I agree. Hierarchy is a dirty word, and really, it's about power in some ways, and in power entrenchment. You know, it's one thing if like some people are natural leaders, some people have certain skill sets. I mean, Zargam, for instance, Trent, Angela, you guys have been here. I mean, I'm a loud voice. I'll probably end up being leaders. There's certain people who will have more cred in the space, Livia, more that, and they will naturally become, people will look at them. And even if they're not part of some kind of structural hierarchy, there will be undue influence from some people versus others. And I, like Dan said, I think it's very important to recognize that. And I would say in some ways we can try to hopefully avoid structural hierarchy and instead, but still like lean on expertise, you know? So I don't know though. I think that in some ways there's a lot of value in having this like inside group of this, like, okay, this is the, you know, the organizers, the people who have skin in the game, that have put in the work, and then recognizing that these people are like, should have more influence. But sometimes if you make that too top down, like managerial, yeah, it's not fun. So I don't know though. It's a tough question. That's why we asked it. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to roadmap. So let's just give a quick update. Here's my, yeah, there we go. So last week we were very lucky. We passed all the proposals, which I was surprised, honestly. I thought one of them would get blocked, but we were able to pass it through. So we're still on pace. Agreements have been made and documented on. We have a meeting schedule, facilitation style, and tools. We've gotten a lot of work done. We have mission, vision, and all that jazz settled. We have a decision-making process and incentivization. So now we're moving on to a roles process and community stewards, and actually discussing this topic of how do we manage the fact that some people will have undue influence over this process. And then next week, assuming that we can agree to a process for how we manage our efforts, then next week we will actually start real work in building this process, in building the TE Commons and starting to solve problems. So we're at a really pivotal moment where we start turning the corner because we've built our foundation, and now we can start launching off of that foundation. So that's really cool. Let's see, just bureaucracy a little bit. If there's anything that somebody thinks that they have for an action step, an idea for an action step, come down in this in the Google Doc, which Shebnem, welcome. The link to the Google Doc is in the comments. And at the bottom of the Google Doc, there's actions this week, which we'll review at the very end of the call. If you have any ideas during this call about stuff that needs to get done, put it in here, and Livia and I, and anyone else, but Livia and I for sure will be the backstop for making sure things happen. Okay, so the next section is proposals. This is where we kind of go over some of the things that are being proposed this week and have been being worked on behind the scenes. First thing that's worth mentioning is that we have again, just a little bureaucracy of the meeting. The goal of the meeting is not really so much to discuss proposals, but give space to make people aware of the proposals and answer clarifying questions, and then try to funnel the discussion into the Google Docs so it's captured for people who can't be here. This week, we were able to propose the Aragon conviction voting grant. So this is really cool. Thank you all for helping comment on this. I know Jess and Livia. Livia, who else helped out with this?
Everyone, I think.
Yeah, it turned out I think it turned out pretty well. I kind of ran with it and edited some things, but it's proposed and we can vote on it. If you have Aragon and $20 worth of gas, then you can vote with conviction voting live on mainnet. And I was able to vote for it. I set my gas really low and it went through last night. So, and really low, unfortunately, is still like $15. So probably, we'll see. We'll see if it goes through.
So what would you say, how many people in Aragon network are aware of token engineering commons? Just to have an idea, because it's a community that I had nothing to do with yet.
I'm not sure. I think a lot of the Aragon team is very aware of it. The conviction voting was modeled by block science, and
yeah.
I think that there's a respect for it. Luke has been pushing modeling for a while, but we'll see if it goes through. I think this was more of just a good exercise, and really, the goal is to get into Gitcoin, and that's what the Aragon. This is the proposal of the week, is that this Aragon conviction voting proposal is the base for our Gitcoin grant. And so I made a proposal for our Gitcoin grant. Would love to see comments. I took this as our picture for the Gitcoin grant. I don't know if you guys like that. And then just make comments in this doc.
Yeah. I have just one question. So this whole actual discussing how it will work happens in Common Stack, correct? So there are talks ongoing how you attach an augmented bonding curve onto conviction DAO, conviction voting in Common Stack, correct?
Yes, but honestly, the technical side of it is more through OneHive.
OneHive, okay. But that is happening. So literally when we write some, this is written, but people who are going to implement it know about it, and the talks are happening, or they, right?
So I think that's a great clarifying question. I should confirm with OneHive that this is all possible, right? Is that kind of the meat of this?
Yeah, kind of somewhere these talks are hopefully happening. And it would be also great if, you know, TE Commons, as being the ones who will be able to use it, actually get into at least, you know, video recordings or whatever, so that we know what it will be there that we can use, or when, you know. I'm just so happy that this is happening.
Yeah.
And would be great to know, to be able to use, help, test, whatever.
Yeah, in the end, OneHive does have a model with a bonding curve attached to conviction voting already deployed on NextEye.
Can you share that? Because also, like, we are looking for examples and so on. For example, the people in the
so they have it there, but no one's actually used it. So yeah, but yeah, I can we can make a. I can try to find the resources around that.
Thanks a lot. That would be great.
Does anyone else have any other clarifying questions about the Gitcoin grants?
Just a tiny one. I think we should make sure that we use the token engineering logo for TE Commons as well, to get, well, also visually have this connection.
Is this the TE Commons logo?
No, I mean, we have the token engineering community logo. And I think we should use that for the TE Commons as well, some adaptation of it, and use it, of course, in the Gitcoin grant.
Is this E not the T?
I see.
Yeah.
This is the, sorry, I was looking at another screen. This is the tag logo. I can provide you the token engineering logo. It's pretty similar, but not 3D.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm. But I think the intention is to actually show this connection. I think it's important because literally the whole modeling and tech side is happening.
I want to make sure, I want to stop us right now, because we're kind of going into discussing the details, and that is much better done in the comments. We should stay fast and nimble and push this, because there's 4 other proposals. But if there's any other clarifying questions about the intent of this proposal, I would be very curious to hear them. Sorry to be a stickler on that.
Well, that's that.
Yeah, clarifying question is, the goal of the Gitcoin grant is to collect funds to set up TE Commons.
Yes.
And this, let's say, stress testing, how do we call it, in like claimed in the Aragon proposal?
Yeah. So in the Aragon proposal, it was specifically for, because I think that whether it goes through or not, we would never get so much funds from that. So that was more narrowed for just development work, whereas this is a general grant for the Token Engineering Commons. At least this is what I proposed here. It doesn't have a specific use case for the funds. It's just like, give us funds so that if we need to pay people, we can.
Okay.
That is a great clarifying question.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about killing the mood there.
Yeah, you totally did.
Yeah, totally killed the mood. That's okay. Because we do, but we have we have 4 more proposals.
Hey, no worries.
Okay, so the next one is dishing praise culture in TE Commons. So this is actually really short. The point of this proposal is to just make everyone aware of a few points. Number 1, if you have any interest in dishing praise, Angela and Shebnem are already in. Shebnem, I think you still need to test a little bit to make sure that it works. But these are the people who can dish praise, and we could always add more. So Dan, if you're interested in dishing praise, you can definitely join the party. And then the main thing is, if we can praise in the moment, it's much more powerful socially. So if you see something, praise something. And I like this analogy to food, that praise is always best served hot. And then, but of course, leftovers are good too. We can always reheat the praise and dish it later. But the big thing is that something that has been a change for the common stack culture is that we need to dish praise to ourselves. For this use case, be liberal with dishing praise to yourself so that it can be tracked, because we are using this to reward. So it's always good to just make sure to include yourself in your own praise.
But yeah, maybe we can have our praise dish patron, because I don't know, I mean, amongst us it's fine to praise ourselves, but I don't know if people are looking at it from the community, find it somehow weird that this person is continuously praising him or herself.
Yeah, I would say it will be a lot better if well, one thing. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if we can create pairs, right, to make sure that, for example, you and me, I make sure that you get praise for the things you've been doing, and vice versa. I'm not sure if this works.
I like that. Yeah, and definitely add these ideas to this doc if you can, and we can even do it during the call, you know, because this is exactly why we're showing this off. But this is also just a cultural, like, awareness thing. It's and very liberal. I don't even know if we'll need to vote on it, but I think we should, just for the awareness. I'm gonna keep blowing through this and go to the next one. Praise quantification proposal. So in the acknowledging and rewarding contributions doc, there is the praise that happens, and then there's the quantification. So praise quantifiers need to be able to say, they need to be able to say, like, or they need to be on the same page with everyone else about what gets quantified and why. And this is just kind of a standard tier system from Angela, inspired by Angela's work, to say that, like, tier 1 contributions are volunteer work that are leading, that actually have a direct impact on the TE Commons launching. And so I gave some examples here. And thank you to Olivia for editing it. It's great. Tier 2 is supporting work that directly helps the Commons. And tier 2 praise will get probably 25% of the cred that tier 1 praise would get. And then tier 3 praise, so tier 2 praise is like just showing up to calls, like Dan showed up to a call today that deserves praise, but it's not nearly as impactful as, like, proposing, leading a proposal, or you know, donating to a Gitcoin grant. And then you know, voting on things, just like engagement. Also, maybe things that are kind of supporting work but directly help the TE Commons, like building out the conviction voting models. Tier 3 work is supporting work that helps the TE community, but doesn't necessarily help the Commons directly, like the TE book, or review committee, or academy. These things all deserve cred, but probably, like, if you put in 1 hour, if you put in 20 hours on the TE academy worth of work, then maybe that's worth 1 hour equivalent for the token engineering commons purposes. Is kind of the proposal here, but very open to be edited. And then tier 4 work is T work that doesn't actually help the token engineering commons at all, like building a new token farming technique, or just getting block science to do some work. If someone makes praise for that, that's fine. We should be praising liberally, but we might just give it 0 credit.
So what if the project open sources it and pushes the model into token engineering community repository? So this is the thing that I stumble over again and again. TE Commons for me is a public good. It sits on a repository. It's a commons, and token engineers can use that good. And when you say TE Commons, you are only thinking about the funding thing, right?
Mm.
But I think what we're discussing at the moment is dishing praise for setting up the TE Commons. It's not for me. As soon as TE Commons are running with technical infrastructure, with the first governance, for example, deciding on proposals and distributing grants, we have to take a different direction, also with praising and rewards. But just for the phase until the TE Commons are set up, this is the policy. This is my understanding. But Griff, is this correct?
I think you nailed it.
And this is, in this
but
respect.
But it's not clear when we say TE Commons, and I'm talking about the public good, and we at the same time now use TE Commons as the work that actually Commons Stack does, like for example, conviction voting modeling is happening in Commons Stack, and we're going to test it in TE Commons as well, like Aragon is testing it, etc. So this prep also goes into, of course, Commons, but again, like when I see TE Commons, I'm just thinking things that will be in the token engineering community repository. When token engineers come, they go there, they can reuse that stuff, right, for their easing their pain. Literally, they're like, why isn't there a Bancor model? Type of
but
stuff,
maybe this is a wording thing. It's literally a wording thing.
Yeah, I mean, this could be sounds like a challenge of the TE Commons name, right? So TE Commons is a augmented bonding curve attached to conviction voting that has people who hold tokens that are going to fund projects.
Token engineering commons. So what is the public good of token engineering?
You could call the token engineering public goods. And also one thing that we kind of in the common stack differentiate. Oh wait, maybe it goes like this. It's not equal. No, I can't remember. I'll explain both. Is lowercase c. Capital C versus lowercase c.
So that should be part of cultural build. So common language and stuff would be cool. I mean, not just rush over these things. And
this can be one of the things that did come up but never got pushed was changing the name of TE Commons. That's still something that could be proposed, especially if you think that this is somewhat confusing.
Yeah. So the thing is literally the perception, and you can just ask a few people, like, what is token engineering? What is token engineering commons? Like, what do those guys do for token engineers? Things they will tell you is...
I hate to do this. We have a lot of things to discuss. I want to keep this discussion, or not discuss. I want to keep that kind of discussion async if we can.
So the cultural build happens asynchronously in Google Doc comments. I would go about it very differently.
Or in breakout calls. Just not in this sync call only has an hour, and we have like a lot of other stuff to get to, and we're way behind. But it's just to make sure that people who proposed ideas that have been like documented and written down have a chance to share them and get and ask clarifying questions.
Let me understand, these proposals come just from you, or do you discuss this with people who are affected by these things?
Yeah, that's the stage that we're in right now. Is people make proposals every week, or at least this is the pattern of the meetings. People make proposals every week, and then we run them through async, and also present them here in this call, and then get feedback.
Keep it short. Just a very big thing I want to put in there. I believe that if we don't give credit to Token Engineering Academy, creating and helping to disseminate knowledge, create all of the things that are out there, I think it's a huge mistake right in the beginning.
Wait, I think we are running in a totally wrong direction at the moment. What I was just trying to remember the mission statement of TE Commons. And this is distributing funding or managing the funds for all the things we have been taking down in the mission. Now what we are, but it's important, so it's totally good question, Shannon. It's important that we realize that all the things we are defining at the moment, at least this is my understanding, please confirm, all the dishing praise, assigning tokens is just for setting up TE Commons and bring it to life. It's not on the core mission, right? This is for example, Token Engineering Academy to me is a core thing for directly in line of the vision of education. And of course, I want to see TE Commons tokens, whatever they are called, to be assigned for TE Academy work in a way that we've discussed in our latest call. So that, for example, creators of original fundaments of the courses get rewarded long term. But this is not what we are discussing here, right?
Okay.
This is just what we are having in front of us. This proposal is just for rewarding contributions to set up TE Commons, correct?
Yes.
Can you confirm? Yeah.
To set up the cultural build and document the technical requirements, and overcome all the challenges that we need to overcome to get people to put money into smart contracts and build a positive culture around distributing funds to the Token Engineering Academy and to the book.
Why do you mention TE Academy in this then at all? But because literally by comparing it and giving it 5% cred impact, that's what trips me off. So
there
we don't have to discuss it now, but I would then like to have a discussion session on that.
The work being done on the Token Engineering Academy brings people into the Token Engineering community, which then maybe some of them will actually work on the Token Engineering Commons, right? So there is some indirect.
It's already happening, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
If I have to go back to Michael Monit and say, you don't have impact, that's not true.
Well, but they don't have direct impact on the launching of the smart contracts and the cultural build of the Token Engineering Commons deployments.
So let me just put a comment in that document that needs clarification, and then we'll take it from there.
That's great. That is the right path forward. Okay, so the next, I'm going to try to blaze through the next one because I think Livia's onboarding proposal is the biggest one. The next one is just a small one on rewarding people who quantify praise. So it's a praise quantification is subjective, and Livia and I are volunteering to take that on. But because of conflicts of interest, we shouldn't be quantifying our own praise, obviously. So we just propose that we get the same amount of cred that the median person gets. So when we dish praise every 2 weeks, or quantify praise every 2 weeks, we just get the same as whatever the middle person gets. That's that proposal. So yeah, feel free to make comments there. And onboarding proposal. We got there. Olivia, what you got?
Okay, hold on.
I can share screen if you want.
I can do it. I'm sharing it.
Cool.
Okay, so I try to think about the onboarding process in a way to make the most simple possible. And I think I hear what you're saying, Shabnan, and I think there is a distinction of the token engineering discipline and the token engineering commons that it's always good to reinforce. So they are both intersectional grounds, and then it's very easy to get entangled, I think, on what is coming from where, even though this intersectionality is super positive and it nurtures a lot the experiment. So I'm keen to have more of these discussions. And that being said, I suggest that we encourage all of these people to participate in our community, and that we have an approach to onboarding that it's similar to the tiers proposed in the praise quantification. So newcomers, when they enter, they understand quickly what is being valued and rewarded during the cultural build. And again, this is just for the cultural build, because when the commons is deployed, we'll have other needs and another onboarding process, most likely. So to simplify everything, we identified just two main roles, the community stewards and the contributors. So everyone starts as a contributor and can go towards the community steward depending on their level of engagement and expertise, and how they heat the tier proposed, proposed in the praise quantification. So community stewards are have a good understanding of the TE Commons. They're proactive. They implement strategies. They work as a team. They're up to date with the decisions taken, and they're confident to take lead in working groups. So it's required a certain level of engagement and expertise. And the onboarding, it's simple. It's just whenever a contributor receives cred in the tier 1, then they will be invited to be a community steward and receive a 30-minute onboarding session by another community steward. And this call would be mostly to give a warm welcome and to see if they have any questions or anything that needs to be discussed. So also they feel more confident to take the leading actions. So for the onboarding, the proposing leading actions would be to make proposals, to lead a working group, to propose and facilitate calls, to assist on the education and onboarding of new members, and to be selected as a proposal advisor through the advice process at least twice. So we're starting the advice process this week. All of these proposals will go through the structure that we approved last week for decision making.
Brief question on this tier 1 thing. In the praise quantification, you say that donors to TE Commons Gitcoin grants are tier 1 contributions. But I think I'm not sure if it makes sense to have an onboarding call with every single Gitcoin grant donor.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I took them off here.
Okay, that's the reason.
Use the tier 1 as an adaptation for the onboarding purpose. just so all of this would still be
Got
given the credit, but not all of those are useful for onboarding.
And not everyone who does some of those things necessarily needs to do the onboarding call and become a community steward, right? It's only if they get nominated.
Mm.
No, so I thought there's just two simple processes. One is whenever someone hits the tier 1 with any of these actions, they would be invited to be a community steward. And if they didn't contribute previously, if they're not in the community, but we want to invite someone to be straight up a community steward and not start as a contributor. This would happen, for example, if there is a working group that we need a leader for, and we don't have that expertise inside of the community. So in this case, the inviter will post the person's name in the main Discord channel and wait for at least another community steward to second their suggestion. If that happens and no one blocks that nomination, then this person comes straight up as a community steward, if they agree, of course. Any questions here?
I'm just adding notes on the. Your explanation has I made some comments on the price quantification.
Okay,
But,
great.
okay. Mm-hmm.
You mean, do you want to make the comments in the onboarding doc? Or
No,
I can,
in the price quantification proposal.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then the contributor, that is the other role, is just whoever collaborates with what is proposed by the community stewards. So it's a very low entry barrier. We want to incentivize people to come. And again, the preferred members that would be joining would be somehow involved with this subject. And the onboarding of the contributors would be sending them as an inbox, like a more warm, welcoming message with an onboarding guide that I plan to put together with these items: the mission, vision, and values, the code of conduct, the roles description, just like this brief 2 roles, the decision-making process, the contribution reward, and the decisions tracking sheet. So this person, if they want, they would be informed about everything that is happening during the cultural build. And that's it.
Any clarifying questions? I also made some changes in the doc while we're talking, but we can keep going to the next one, which now we're actually to data gathering. So like we were saying before, because we only have 1 hour of syncing a week, the goal of these calls are to get clarifying, to review proposals that have been made throughout the week that will be voted on Friday, and gather clarifying questions, and also to gather data points for the next step of the journey. And so the next step of the journey to gather data points is roles and working groups. So next week, we're going to start brainstorming some working groups, which is really exciting because we're going to start getting real work done. Although maybe it takes 2 weeks, we'll see. The proposal for working groups, or like kind of the roadmap on working groups, is that for every individual problem that we need to solve, we'll have a working group that is tasked with, number one, identifying the problem that needs to be solved and kind of saying the requirements of what a solution looks like and proposing an idea of how to solve it. and then executing that proposal. And so this is the working group model that we hope to go for. And each working group will be formed around one dimension, right? So there could be a legal working group, there could be a financial planning working group. And while these working groups will likely live on past the the actual launch of the commons, again, we are, this project and our focus is not to build working groups for token engineering community, but it's really just to focus on working groups so that we can launch the smart contracts and build the community around using those smart contracts and that token economy.
Okay, now I start to understand.
Yeah.
So literally, we need to have these. Okay. So okay.
It's scope. It's just a scope.
Yeah.
We're trying to narrow scope to just like, what do we got to do to launch the flagship common stack model economy for token engineering? So let's take.
So literally, then we need our own token engineering community shepherds, because is it for that or that? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. And so
good to know. It's a big working group. It's a big scouting effort now to do.
Yeah. Eventually, hopefully, the token engineering commons can expand once it's actually launched and working for a while. It can help with other things, but for now, we just got to actually deploy this stuff. So what we want to do is brainstorm for 3 minutes potential working groups that we will need leaders for. So if you, oh hey Jess, if you guys have the link to the agenda, looks like there's an anonymous draft already putting some good ideas in there. There's down there. There's like I'm going to highlight it in yellow. We can just start putting down ideas for groups that we need to make sure are working on solving problems. And to make it not so boring for the people who watch this later, I'll share a screen.
How do you community person? So this is okay. Literally, it's.
Okay. If you have any more, feel free to keep writing them there. We'll use this data for proposing some working groups next week. And we kind of went through roles and community stewards. Okay, so we have a few more questions. So onboarding recruitment strategy. This is kind of feedback on the onboarding document that Livia posted. So, well, maybe Livia, can you explain these questions, or?
Yeah, it was more like a temperature check of what you guys feel like it's the best approach to onboarding in alternative as the proposal. So if you have anything that you would like to add to those questions, please do. And just the yes and no answers. Yeah.
Not the easiest voting, but yes. Yeah, criteria for voting. Okay, so we're running out of time. I want to honor our time limits. So actions this week. Let's just, we're gonna have to skip the closing round of remarks, but actions this week. Does anyone have any action items for the week that need to be done? For sure, Griff and Livia need to propose votes for all these proposals that came through, and probably maybe Kat heard them a little bit more in the chat room.
I think if we still feel that there are a lot of question marks or uncertainty around a particular rewards, roles, then we should have a call just to let's not forget this.
Yeah.
Have a call on which one?
Yeah, how would you call it? This entire scope, clarify somehow.
See comments and comments. Literally, I mean, I've been doing all of the votes with an entirely different view until now. Sorry about that. So
hey, let's go back to zero.
No. I think until now it's cool, but literally, for example, why are we pushing a cultural build if our community shepherd isn't there yet, right? I'm not a community shepherd person. I'm a socially awkward person. So, so if you guys just in 6 months pack up your stuff and then go to, culture build another community, we're going to be here with all of these votes that we did, but no one actually picking up the community building creation. That's an entirely different type of people that we need to recruit first, right, to build this community. I'm not worried about content and knowledge dissemination, that type of, but all of these votes, all of what is currently happening, the lead person that should experience that isn't here. We don't have that person then.
Yeah. Okay, so let's I'm down to set up a call with that, and I'll asynchronously ping you, and then we can talk about, we can schedule a time, and then it can be an open invite. Does that sound pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy you brought that up. I'm excited for this talk.
Yeah, I'd be glad to be there as well. I feel let's say this was also it took me a while to take that perspective that I have at the moment, but we also, Griff, we had our chats about that, and I think it's super important to be clear about that.
Yeah, and this is another thing on this. Should we try to change the name?
It's
Perhaps
not about the name, it's about we're missing a key person. We should recruit first before moving on with cultural build if you want.
So having a community steward. Or you call them shepherd.
I don't know how to, also again, that person should pick their names. How do you call yourself, Griff?
Yeah, it's true. Okay. We're 2 minutes over.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Is there any other last action items that while I steal the 2 minutes of everyone's time, is there anything else that we need to make sure we get done this week? Okay. Thank you guys. I'm sorry for going over, but it was a good call, and clearly we made a lot of important progress. So,
all right.
We'll see you guys next week and in the chat.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, Dan.